everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the infotainment and tech breakdown on the 2024 Honda Pilot. If you just recently purchased a Pilot, or maybe you're driving one for an extended period of time, or maybe you're just curious about how the tech compares to some of the other vehicles in the class, this video is for you. Now my first recommendation is, if you just bought one of these, spend some time in your driveway or a safe area like this and learn how to use your vehicle. Get familiar with the buttons, get familiar with the tech abilities. You're going to enjoy your car that much more. And also, if you do want to see more on the Pilot, check the link below. We've got a sound system demo on both this Bose system as well as the 9-speaker and some of the more basic Pilots. We've got a little drive review of the Trail Sport model as well as this one, this black edition. All that can be found with the links below. First things first, looking up here in front of us with this tilt and telescoping steering wheel, we have one of my favorite steering wheels on the market. Good quality, physical, clicky, nice to touch and use buttons with some scrollers to adjust elements in the screens in front of us, and even a heated steering wheel button built in to the bottom third right there. Way over on the left side, we have a button for opening up the rear hatch, as well as a heated windshield button and a traction control button. On the steering wheel, we've got track controls on the left, volume controls on the left, a voice command button, which you can press once to get the Honda voice commands, or press and hold to get your Apple Siri or Android Auto Google Assistant. You can use this scroller knob to get through this screen here on the left. We're going to get through those here in a moment. Over on the right, you've got cruise control on, resume and set, following distance adjustment, active steering controls, and then a roller and click button for the right screen up here in front of us. This gauge cluster screen is fully digital except for an analog display on the left for engine coolant temp and an analog on the right for fuel. Looking at the screen, this is kind of your main home screen, if you will. You can adjust what you see on the left and right gauge clusters, but you're always going to have this digital speed readout in the center. I guess I should turn off my cruise control, and then you can see it gets a little bit larger there. But if the cruise is on, then you get a little vehicle layout. And if you have your cruise set, it'll tell you what the cruise is set at. Making our way down to the bottom, we see outside temperature on the bottom left, gear selected, moving right from there, drive mode selected, and odometer. Is there an auto trip button? I don't believe so, because the trip is built in right above it. And then within the two analog gauge layouts, we have customizable screens. Let's go through the left one first. If you start scrolling, it'll give you different media inputs right here, or phone information screens. But if you click Customize Display, then you can choose what you see or don't see. So say, for example, you never use AM radio, you can uncheck that and then you won't have to scroll through it. Come back up and go back. If we go to Audio and Clock, it's going to give you an option to turn that on or off. If we have that off, then what do we see? Oh, then you see nothing. You just see a big old gauge display like this. I actually think some people are going to like that. It looks a little crisper. Then over on the right, you have the same customization, but a lot more information you can choose. You can scroll through. Right now, we've got our trip A with showing us the distance that trip A has gone, and then also the average fuel economy for that, and our range. You can scroll through, and you get average speed and elapsed time for trip A. If you press it, then you get to trip B. Scrolling down, we get navigation. If we were navigating, we might get some information on our nav right there. A driver's attention monitor. If the vehicle thinks you haven't been driving attentively, it might tell you to take a break, or at least suggest it. You've got a four-wheel drive screen seeing what power is being sent to what wheels. You've got a screen telling you if any of the people in the back have not buttoned up their seat belts, or actually even in the front. A maintenance monitor for oil life. Tire pressure monitor readout. Safety support systems to see if they're all working properly. You can choose to not have any content on there. And also, if you press and hold this, you'll switch between miles per hour and kilometers per hour. And then you can press here to adjust the brightness of your screens. I believe this is just for the gauge cluster, not for the center screen. But maybe it's different at night. And then you've also got a head-up display on this model, and I actually don't even think it's enabled right now. So if we turn this on. Oh, maybe it's just because the vehicle's not started. But you can choose what you see in your head-up display. Customize it a little bit there. You can also adjust the brightness and the height of your head-up display. Continuing down, gauge cluster settings. We can choose to not see or to see any of those screens that we've gone through. And you can also adjust the gauge design. Do you want it round like this? Do you want bars? Very different style there. A minimal round, so it kind of takes away the tachometer. It just gives you the cruise, or the speedometer there. And then you can also choose a bar minimal, which will just give you Oh, okay, so a little more basic and modern looking. Interesting. But like I said, you still get that digital speed all the time there in the middle. Okay, so that is your center gauge cluster screen, but what about this 9-inch screen here in the center? This is running a little bit more of a basic system. Some of the more advanced Hondas, which I don't know why the Pilot doesn't get this, to be fair, but the Accord gets a very nice Android Automotive-based system with Google Maps built in and Android Assistant built in. It works very, very nicely. This one's a little bit more basic, but it is functional. And we're not going to show you how to use every single little nitty-gritty setting and detail on the system, but we'll try to show you how to use some of the things that you might want to know for your day-to-day. You do have some physical controls here, and side note, I do appreciate that we still have all physical controls for our climate control down here below, as well as drive modes and parking brake and etc. But up here you've got a physical home button, a physical back button, physical volume knob, and physical track controls. This is essentially your home screen. It's just a 4x2 app grid layout. Up in the top left, you have the ability to change through your audio sources. Up in the top middle, if you click that, it'll bring you right to the audio that's being currently played. Right from that, you can see system status and notifications about the devices that are connected. And then at the top right, you have a clock. If you click that, it'll bring up a big analog or digital clock, depending on what you've chosen right here. You can customize your clock faces, choose how you want it to look. Along the bottom, you have these shortcuts to get to elements of the system that you use most frequently. Right now we've got navigation, phone, FM, and Bluetooth audio, as well as smart shortcuts and the display mode. But say, for example, you never use FM radio, you can press and hold that, and then maybe you move something like Android Auto down there. Then you can easily get to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, or whatever you want to use, more frequently, and the FM radio just goes back up here. I quite like that customization. If we click all apps, then we can see all of the different apps that are installed on the car. We're going to go back and just view them in this grid layout. Here's your navigation. It's a fairly rudimentary navigation system, especially when most people just use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But sometimes it's nice to have this if you don't have any cell connection, maybe you don't have your cell phone on you, or maybe you just want to use it as a map. You can zoom in and out that way. You can pinch to zoom. You can drag around. And later on when we test out voice commands, I'll show you how to set a destination in there. Coming back, we have a phone screen. If you have a phone connected via Bluetooth, this is going to give you the ability to dial in calls, see your contacts, your recent calls, and I guess that's about it. Under FM radio, very straightforward. It's going to show you your FM and some of your favorites, the ability to seek through. Bluetooth audio, if you have a device connected for Bluetooth and not using phone projection, you can play Bluetooth through there. We'll get to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay later on in the video. Sirius XM radio, people are going to appreciate that being built in. Again, you can see your favorites just like we had on FM radio. Coming back, we have a trip computer screen. This is going to show you information for either your current drive, trip A or trip B, mostly just fuel economy and how far you've traveled. Swiping over, we'll go to general settings in a moment, as well as vehicle settings. USB, that's going to be for playing USB audio. Right now we've got a USB drive plugged in, so we could get to that. Same with AM. System updates, if you're connected via Wi-Fi, you can check for system updates on this system. Wi-Fi hotspot right here. If you pay monthly with AT&T, you can provide a Wi-Fi hotspot to devices in the car, such as children's tablets or work laptops. Under clock, we saw that screen earlier. It's going to bring up your nice full screen clock there. Under Honda Link, if you pair this vehicle up to your Honda Link account, then you can adjust functionality from your phone, such as starting up the vehicle, maybe getting your heated seats going. Continuing over, this is the Smart Shortcuts screen. And this provides quick access to call, music, and navigation suggestions tailored to you. It sort of learns what you use regularly and what you might want to do maybe at certain times of day or certain driving situations. And then it can provide functionality. So it looks like maybe a lot of people have listened to Sirius XM 26 classic vinyl in this car before, so it's suggesting maybe you want to tune to that station. Again, fairly basic, but nice to have. And then a cabin talk functionality. If you turn that on, then it uses the microphone to actually project my voice up here to speakers in the back. This can be nice if you have older people riding who can't hear you very well, or maybe children riding in the back. Instead of having to yell, you can simply talk in a normal voice and they'll be able to hear you a little better through those speakers. Now, coming back, let's get into the vehicle settings. Vehicle settings here, driver assistance system setup. So if any of the driver assistants built in, such as the blind spot monitoring or the forward collision warning, are bothering you, you can adjust them here. Say, for example, if you tailgate a lot and you find that the forward collision warning is alerting you too often of an impending crash. You can change that following distance to short. This is one that I definitely want to have off. ACC, Adaptive Cruise Control Forward Vehicle Detect Beep. Some systems will beep every time they detect a vehicle in front of you using the Adaptive Cruise Control. I like to have that off. You can go through and choose some of those other functionalities that you might want on or off. Meter/head-up display setup. You can adjust some things such as a compensation for your outside temperature. Adjust the alarm volume. Okay, so change the volume of all system warnings, door opening warning, and turn signal. Right now, here's our turn signal on medium. Here's high. And here's low. Okay, that's nice to be able to adjust that. Fuel efficiency backlight. This is one that Hondas have. As you're driving along, it'll sort of glow white if you're not driving very fuel efficiently, and it'll glow green if you are driving efficiently. You can change that and turn it off if you don't want it. You can also change your speed and distance units from here as well, and the rear seat reminder. So this will warn you that maybe you left a child or an item in the back seat when you get out of the car. If you don't like that happening, you can turn that off. Driving position setup. If you want the driving position to be linked up to your memory with either the key or these buttons right here, you can turn that on or off. And seat movement entry and exit. I actually want this off. Some people aren't going to like that when the seat moves back, it's hard to touch the stop-start button, but some people like that moving back in order to give them a little bit more room to get in and out of. Keyless access setup. Door unlock mode. I actually like having all doors here. This is going to make it so if, when you touch the front driver door handle, it's going to unlock all the doors. You can also adjust how much the vehicle beeps and flashes when you lock and unlock the vehicle. Lighting setup. Do you want auto high beams on or off? Do you want the headlights to be a little bit more sensitive or less sensitive to light when you're driving around? Door and window setup. Do you want the doors to automatically lock when you get going or when you shift from park, or do you not want them to do that? And auto door unlock when you shift to park or when you turn the ignition off. When do you want the doors to automatically unlock? Walk away auto lock. Some people like this. So if you have the key in your pocket, you can walk away from the vehicle and it'll automatically lock. Remote window control. This is nice to have. If you take your keyless remote and you press the unlock and then press and hold the unlock a second time, the windows will roll down. I like having that. Power tailgate setup. This car has the ability to open the tailgate if you simply walk up and kick your foot underneath. If for some reason it's not working, it might be disabled here. And maintenance information. If you need to reset your oil life, maybe you change your oil on your own, you're going to do that from right there. Then moving into general settings, we'll go under system. We've got date and time settings here. If you want to change your time zone or your time formats or manually set the date and time, you can do that. Got a few different languages to choose from, English, Spanish, and French. Touch panel sensitivity. You can make it a little more sensitive. Maybe if you drive around with gloves, you might want that sensitivity turned up a little higher. System volumes. This is actually nice because you can turn up or down the navigation, or right here the system sounds. Now when I touch a screen, it doesn't make any beep sound. That's kind of nice for some people. You can do a factory data reset at the bottom of the system screen. This is going to be nice if you go to sell your vehicle, then it's going to clear out all of your personal information. That's important if you have logged into the car or something like that. Under connections, this is where we're going to connect a Bluetooth device later on for wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you can also turn on or off your Wi-Fi for connecting either to a Wi-Fi network in order to get software updates or for setting up your hotspot. Under display, we can adjust the brightness for the center display, as well as the contrast and black levels. Under sound, we've got our front, rear, left, right, fader, and balance, and our treble, mid-range, and bass adjustments. And that's about all you really need from the general settings screen. Let's come on back now to the home screen and test out voice commands. To launch the voice command, you press this button on the left side of the steering wheel. Navigate to the nearest Starbucks.
Searching for Starbucks. Select a line number.
1.
Starbucks. Would you like to start navigation?
Yes. There's fairly rudimentary voice commands there,
right.
but it is effective. Cancel navigation.
Stopping route.
Let's see if it can do anything smarter. Set the climate to 62 degrees.
Please say again.
I'm cold.
Please say again.
What's the weather like tomorrow?
Make sure there is no background noise, then try again.
Alright, so you see it really can't do much other than tune to certain radio stations and set navigation. So now let's show you what Android Auto looks like. Because I have it saved in this shortcut, I can simply click right here, get right to Android Auto, and it's coming up, taking up the whole screen. If I want to get back home, press this home button right here. But coming to the home of Android Auto, you can see you've got your frequently used apps down on the bottom. Google Maps right here in the middle, which if I touch, brings me to full screen Google Maps. I can pinch and zoom, move around. Responsiveness seems pretty good. Coming back, let's go home. You can see your media screen. Let's bring up YouTube Music. Let's go to the Super Mix and see what we're getting today. Some Epica, all right. If we come home, then we see we've got media down on the bottom right. Some hot swappable items that'll kind of rotate through depending on if you have any text messages up on the top right, and then your navigation. Here's what your full app screen looks like. It's like about a 3x4 grid. Now I'll show you how to pair up an iPhone. In order to do that, I'm going to take my trusty iPhone SE. We're going to bring it over to the settings screen and go to Bluetooth. Then on the car screen, I'm going to go to General Settings, Connections, Bluetooth, and then Connect New Device. I'm going to disconnect my currently connected device, and now I'm going to hit Search for Devices. I see Charlie's iPhone pop up. Click that. Then on my phone, I should get a prompt. Yep, pairing request. I'm going to hit Pair, Allow, and then up on the phone, the vehicle screen. This is important. By default, it's going to go to Audio and Phone, but I want Apple CarPlay, so I'm going to check that and then press Connect, and then enable Apple CarPlay. Back on my device, I'm going to get a prompt to allow Apple CarPlay wirelessly. I'm going to hit Connect. And there we have it. Apple CarPlay coming up on the Pilot. Again, taking up the whole screen. I don't understand why my background hasn't saved for Apple CarPlay, because I regularly go into here, I go to Wallpaper, I change it to this more colorful one, and then it always goes back. But there we have our split screen layout for home. You can see the buttons are very large and chunky in this one. Bringing up Google Maps, you can drag around. It's not responding quite as quickly, and also no pinch to zoom. Coming back home, let's look at our app screen. Got a 4x2 grid layout. That looks pretty nice. Easy to swipe through those. Let's open up YouTube Music on the iPhone. Hit our Super Mix. Let's see what we're getting out of this one. Some Within Temptation. All right, we got some symphonic metal going today out of the two phones. And then when you come back home, you see your media going on the right, Google Maps going on the left. So there it is, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the infotainment system here on the Honda Pilot. Now, it's not my favorite system on the market. I think the screen's fairly small. I'd like to see the Android Automotive-based system that we see in some of the other Honda vehicles. But admittedly, having the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is good, and the functionality is there, it's just basic. However, I do really appreciate having so many nice physical controls around the vehicle for other functions. Is there anything else you'd want to know that I didn't answer? Ask in the comments. I'll try to get back to you. If you do want to see more on the car, check the link below for our other videos, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.